Okay, so Ty Lue is acknowledging that Harden's potential impact was on his mind from start to finish of last night's game as James was sitting down the bench in street clothes. You could interpret that as a little bit of a between-the-lines shot at Russell Westbrook, but Rachel, what did Coach Lue's quote tell you?
It didn't feel like a shot at Russell Westbrook to me. It just meant that, hey, he had this guy on the bench he knows could help him, and he couldn't get him out there. In fact, I was in the hallway with Lawrence Frank and Ty Lue after the game, and they were joking that when Paul George fouled out in overtime, he just should have put James in no matter what, even in his street clothes. It would have been fine. So I think the part of the quote a little bit later in his press conference that got me was him talking about staggering James and Russ. And that really lifted the curtain a little bit on Ty Lue's plan here. And it's a good idea. By the way, I do think there's a strong possibility that Russ and James will both start in games. Remember, Russell does not like coming off the bench. He's a creature of routine.
Yep.
When he came off the bench for the Lakers, he said he didn't know what to do with himself before games. And he actually blamed not having his old routine as why he hurt his hamstring that year. So I think it's a good chance that they'll start all four of them, but pretty soon you will see Ty Lue stagger these guys. And then it's really about how you finish, right? Not how you start. Russ's usage rate in these games this season is already super low. It's already 7% before Harden even gets onto the court. So I don't think it's going to be a big issue for him to have to step off in the fourth because it's already been happening. And I got to tell you guys, this idea that Russ and Harden don't like each other, this has been overblown. Their playing styles and, frankly, approach to the team did not work in Houston. They don't play the same way or at the same pace. And then this was James' team in Houston, and Russ really couldn't adjust to that. The schedule and the way James approaches things is not as regimented as Russ would like. But they do still like each other. They talk and text regularly. That's not new. It's not that he came into the locker room yesterday and it was like, oh, I don't know, we haven't talked in years. They talk to each other. They text with each other. And here's the thing I found the most interesting last night from all my conversations. A Clippers source told me that before Russell Westbrook even re-signed this past summer, the Harden thing was out there. And so they talked to Russ specifically about the possibility of James walking in that locker room just like that, and that would mean that Russ's role would change. And they said, hey, are you going to be okay with this? Because we don't want to re-sign you if you're going to be unhappy, if we're going to be unhappy. You got to tell us you can deal with that. And he said, absolutely. I think that that's going to make a big difference, too. They're set up to want to succeed.
And that's when I talked to you earlier in the week, and the conversation was, did they all sign off on it?
Yep.
Paul George, Kawhi, and now you just confirmed Westbrook essentially signed off on James Harden joining the team. And the question is, how are you going to use these two? There's going to be a combination. Russ is going to start, like I said. Then all of a sudden, he goes to the bench 4 or 5 minutes, and he comes in with the second unit, and he does Russ-like things like he actually was doing early in the game last night. He was hustling. Obviously, the turnover issue is a lot of turnovers still, but that's just who he is. You know what you're getting in certain players. And when you talk about a relationship and a relationship builder, this is not their first rodeo. We go all the way back to OKC. They've been together before. So they understand each other's attitudes. They're both from the all four are from the Southern California area. So there's some upbringing there where they know each other. It's somewhat of a friendship, even though it may not be a nightly, daily friendship. Yep. They still are acquaintances. So I think that that's extremely important. Plus, Ty Lue understands what James Harden brings to the table. Okay, he's a guy who can facilitate. He doesn't. Everybody thinks that he has to take all the shots and do all the things. If he needs to play the off-guard position, even though it's positionless basketball right now, he can still slide over and create his own shot. If Westbrook needs to bring the ball up the court, and then once he crosses half court, now and they get into the half-court offense, he can still be able to do those sort of things. So I don't think it's a deterrent at all to add him to this roster. You could see certain things last night. It said, well, if he was out on the floor, it might be a little bit different in this situation. And that's what Ty Lue is speaking to. I think we want it to be a issue between Westbrook and James Harden because we like the drama. We want to keep mess going and the gossip flowing, but you got a veteran team here. This is a veteran team with a veteran coach that knows how to handle all obstacles that may get in the way.
So to me, to use your operative word, deterrent, it's not about being a deterrent, James. It's about being an upgrade. And Rachel made this point the last time she was here. What day was it? Tuesday?
Yeah.
To me, if I step back from this, is James a better player right now than Russell Westbrook? Yes, he is. He's a little better passer. He's a little less turnover prone, even though over the last 7 years, Russ has been number 1 in NBA turnovers and James has been number 2. But is James a little better shooter than Russ? Well, he's a lot better shooter because since Russ entered this league, he is the bottom of the barrel, the worst three-point shooter in basketball, even though last night I was impressed. He made 3 out of 6 last night. But he turned it over 6 times, as Keyshawn alluded to, and they're horrendous turnovers. Again, we used to, when poor LeBron had to play beside Russ when he was a Laker, we used to come in here every day and do Russell Westbrook memorial sort of turnover blooper reels. And we would just sit back in awe of how bad the turnovers were, because if you're playing church league basketball, you would get yanked for that turnover because it was so mind-blowingly bad. And he had 2 or 3 of that variety last night where you just thought, Russ, what were you thinking? I don't know. He's not thinking. He took a couple of late shots where you said, what was that? I'm sure Ty Lue sits over there and says, I don't know what that was. So could you upgrade if you play James more at the point than Russ? If you relegate Russ to be the quarterback of the second unit of the shock troops and bring him in with high, extreme Russ energy, and that's what he does best. Yep. He plays hard. He played his tail off last night. Okay, will that work? Would he be happy with that if he found a new sort of home and comfort zone as I'm the leader of the second unit? I don't know. He wasn't that happy doing it as a Laker.
Yeah, but they were not winning when he was doing it. He was out on the floor basically by himself because LeBron and AD were out. Now, when you got a winning culture, Rachel, as you know, when you got Kawhi knocking down shots and PG, now you got Harden doing his thing and PJ Tucker out there as a veteran leader playing hard-nosed, rough defense, you buy in. Look, you buy in.
Russ talked about it last night. He said this is not going to be perfect from the start. He said we're going to have to figure it out. There's going to be bad games. There's going to be good games. No one's promising this is going to just work like magic right away. But he really expressed a belief that it could work, and he's the one who needs to buy in the most. They're all buying in, though. Paul George talked about how he talked to Harden a lot over the course of the summer and into this season, hoping that this trade would happen. You have to remember, as you said, Key, they're all 4 Southern California guys. That means something to them here. They want to be the first ones to get the Clippers a championship and kind of make a difference here to your Lakers, Keyshawn. And by the way, it's personal, too. It's not just about basketball. All 4 of them have a ton of family here. They want to raise their kids here. They want this to work. If it falls apart, more than one of them might be going to another part of the country next year. They don't want that to happen. So I think that it will be a little rocky. There's going to be times where you say, like, the NBA loves drama. The NBA loves petty. So I think that there will be times over the course of the next couple of months we will be having conversations about, I don't know if this is working. But I do have faith they're going to figure it out by the middle of the season. And I do absolutely think, I said it the other day, this is an upgrade for the Clippers. And they need that upgrade because Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have open contracts this offseason. They need to know what they're dealing with and give these guys a chance before that to be at their best.
Especially going into a brand new arena, Skip. They got to figure it out. Now, I'm a Laker fan. I'm not, everybody say, oh, you would root for your hometown team even though it's the Clippers. No, I'm not. No, I am not. I am a Laker fan, and that is what it is. I am a Dodger fan. I am not an Angel fan. So when I look at it, do they have on paper one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the conference? For sure, 100%. Do I think they're going to be there in the end, hanging around as one of the top 2 or 3 teams? Yes, I do, because I honestly believe that everything's going to fall into place for them. They're going to stay healthy. They're going to do all the things that they hadn't done in the past. But so are we.
Okay, I buy that. I agree. But if you're a Clipper fan, you saw 2 big flashes of, and I don't use this word lightly, greatness last night, because Kawhi in the first quarter, 18, and then Paul George in the fourth quarter, 20, including 3 late free throws where he had to go stand there by himself 15 feet away and go boom, 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 and he did it. He made all 3 of them to force, obviously, the overtime. The point is, you could see the potential future. They're still playing at extremely high levels if they can stay healthy, which is never seems to be the case.
But that's another factor, right? I mean, obviously, we've talked about the idea that Harden is insurance for one of those guys is hurt or off the floor. You still have two stars, big stars out there, then you can get them backed up by Russ. However, also, when they are healthy, if their usage rates are all lower because they all have to sacrifice, as we keep talking about, and share the ball more and not play as hard in their game and their style, that actually has an effect on you over the course of the season. You are fresher over the course of the season when your usage rates are lower, and possibly that leads to less injuries from that just repetitive motion. I mean, Key, you know from being an athlete, the harder you burn through the season, the more likely that those tic-tac injuries become bigger deals.
No, that is true, and they are older, but I think when you talk about Ty Lue and understanding Kawhi is not going to change, he's going to get his rest. Whatever you want to call it, load management, non-TV, national game management, whatever. He's already said, I'm not changing anything in the way my routine is and what I do. And the same thing with Westbrook. I'm sure it's the same thing with PG as well as Harden. It's just going to be fascinating to be able to see all four of them on the floor at the same time in games that matter. I wish I could have saw it last night against the Lakers, but it's coming.
All right, so, Rachel, do you think the Clippers can be better than the Lakers?
Look, the Clippers have gotten off to a hotter start than the Lakers, last night notwithstanding. I think the Lakers are going to work themselves out, any little bugs that they have going on in this first couple weeks. Last year, we saw the perfect example. You get LeBron James into the playoffs, even just the play-in, and it's a whole new season after that. So I got to wait until then to see where both teams are. But they certainly have a chance, and this gives them a chance, a puncher's chance at the title, which they had really didn't feel like they had any shot at before this trade. That is a huge deal. You have guys with 27 combined All-Star appearances. They played for a long time, and that tells me at the end of games, they know what to do. I'm not worried about the Clippers at the end of games. And I saw it last night. Paul George, that building was so tense when he took those last 3 free throws to close out in regulation. I mean, dude, he nailed those. And I think that is going to be a big thing for them going forward. They have that end-of-game experience.
And I say when the Lakers do get whole, and they were missing 4 key rotation players last night, when they get whole, if they can stay healthy, they'll be a little better than the Clippers.
I don't want you to, Skip. I don't want
I can
you.
do whatever.
No, I don't want you talking about the Lakers in a positive light, ever. Seriously.
I knew I was covering the Lakers before you were born. So I've already earned my way with the Lakers.
I understand you covered Gail Goodrich and all those guys.
I didn't go that far back. But I covered the Showtime Lakers.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.